How's it going today, everybody? And welcome to my YouTube channel, Oracle Rising. My name is Robin. Welcome here, guys. So we have a Friday the 13th coming up. So I really wanted to dig in and see what all the to-do about Friday the 13th was about, because it's pretty crazy, like how afraid people are of Friday the 13th. So I did a little bit of research last night, and I'm gonna just share with you some of the stuff that I found. So in the Middle Ages, so the story of the Last Supper is that it happened on a Thursday and Jesus was crucified on a Friday, which is now Good Friday. So, and there were 13 people at that dinner. So somehow that sort of like warped into an association with the number 13 and the day Friday. So that could be one possible cause. So the next thing I found was in 1869, hundreds of Knights of the Templar were arrested by Philip of France. And this was also on a Friday the 13th. And I didn't really dig deep into that because, you know, history is so warped. You know, you can't really, like, if you ever listen to two people's accounts of the same situation, you'll understand that nobody has the same version of what happened. So I didn't really dig deep into it, but be my guest if you want to look into that. So there was that theory. And then I found this other theory here. In 1907, there was a fictional book written about somebody that purposely tanked the stock market, and the target date was for Friday the 13th. You know, like the plot line was deliberately tried to crash the stock market, and the date planned for that was Friday the 13th. So it was generally after that incident or that book or whatever that people really started to be afraid, and it started to really pop up in modern culture. You know, and people call in sick to work or they don't travel, you know. So it's really got this sort of far-reaching implication into our society, and it like in North America, at least, it's considered, I guess, normal. You know, everybody's like, Friday the 13th, you know, don't drive or whatever. I don't look at it that way. I kind of think, okay, Friday the 13th, and I try to look at it as if it's a good luck day, right, for me. And I also consider black cats lucky. You know, I try not to follow that sort of sheeple way of looking at things. So there's some things that have evolved out of that. And just so you guys know that anytime that a month starts on a Sunday, there's going to be a Friday the 13th in that month. And we generally have, well, there is always at least one Friday the 13th in a calendar year. And I know some people circle that date way in advance so that they can be properly afraid. But anyway, so there's a few different things that happened in our history that could be responsible for this, like, feeling of fear around an innocent date on a calendar. So I'm not sure which theory is the most interesting. You know, and this thing about the Last Supper in the Middle Ages, you know, it was Judas was the 13th guest at the Last Supper. So, and Judas doesn't have a very good reputation in history, that's for sure. So from that, it's like, that's why some people think that 12 is the perfect number of people to have at their dinner table, because if they have a 13th guest, they feel like somebody at that table is going to die within the year. And this sort of evolved out of the Last Supper and having the 13th guest. And some people take it to the extreme that, you know, if there's 12 people in a room and a 13th person enters, you know, somebody in that room is going to die within a year. And that all seems a little bit like, I don't know, a horror movie. And you know, that kind of plays into this Friday the 13th movie series that we have. It's just bone chilling, right? I remember watching that when I was a teenager. It was just so, I mean, and that's just a terrifying series, you know. I don't know, like that really tainted my camping experience after watching that. It was really scary, and I think it went on and on and on forever. But a scary series, and it really it played off everybody's fear already. So everybody's already afraid of the day, right? And then they make this psycho killer movie series out of it. So that was brilliantly done. They made millions and millions of money. So I think that's really interesting. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is, if you've ever been in a tall building, there's no 13th floor. Everybody knows there's a 13th floor. If you're on the 14th floor, you know what? You're on the 13th floor. But they don't want to call it that. Oh, we can't call it the 13th floor because it's unlucky. You know, it's like, what? I don't even know what's going on with that. So it's really fascinating how, you know, some folklore and associations can turn into what is good luck and bad luck for our society, and what is adopted as a societal norm, like this whole 13th floor thing. And I'm sure there's other things that are affected too. I'm surprised they didn't just take the date 13 off the calendar just in case it falls on a Friday, you know. So like really, really interesting superstitions around Friday the 13th. And I wanted to talk about this because we have one coming up, and I just don't think you should be afraid to live your life on Friday the 13th. I mean, you know, things happen every day, every minute, every second. You know, there's things going on, but we don't blame it on the time and day, do we? You know, we just kind of carry on and say, well, that happened. But and then there's this sort of plethora of historical events that can lead into where this all started from, and you can sort of pick whatever one you're most comfortable with, you know, and because people kind of worship money, I think that really sort of amplified this Friday the 13th. Well, somebody wrote a fictional book about losing all their money on Friday the 13th. So, you know, hey, it must be true, you know. And like, there's a lot of, I'm not a religious person, you guys, but I know a lot of people are. So like having this religious association probably has a lot to do with it for a lot of people, you know. And quite frankly, I don't even know what a Knights Templar is, so I can't expand on that theory at all. And maybe I should have watched a video on it, but I don't care what a Knights Templar is, and I don't care who Philip the 14th of France is either. So I think it's really fascinating, and I just wanted to encourage you guys, like, just live your life. It's just another day on the calendar, and it's okay to be on the 13th floor. It's okay to get up and have a great day on Friday the 13th, and like, don't be afraid of something that was just sort of evolved out of some historical event that may or may not be accurate, because like people have different accounts of everything, and because somebody wrote a fictional book about money. So if you're worried about Friday the 13th, maybe have a look at why. Like, where did that come from? Like, did somebody tell you to be afraid of Friday the 13th? And you're sitting there going, well, I heard this when I was a kid. So, you know, it's kind of like believing in Santa Claus your entire life. You know, psst, there's no Santa Claus, you know. So, and I hope I didn't shatter anybody's illusions about Santa. But do you know what I mean? Like, really, you have to start not believing folklore that you were raised around and do your own investigation. And this is why I wanted to talk about Friday the 13th, because I don't think I've ever been afraid of Friday the 13th, because I thought, why? You know, what are people even talking about? So anyway, I just wanted to basically have a rant and ramble about Friday the 13th and give you guys a little bit of history about it and say, hey, it's okay. Friday the 13th is cool, guys. So take care and have a great day. Bye.